I've been looking for a game exactly like this. Mages, all-out battling, a hint of Yu-Gi-Oh-esque dueling, and just using all kinds of magic to cast crazy spells. This game checks all those boxes. We're in ancient Italy after the lodge has been destroyed. Your goal is to rebuild this place while fighting other mages for the title of Grand Magister, aka the mage with the most victory points after the third moon phase will win. So here's how your turn works. First up is the Black Rose phase. Here's where you're drawing a brand new event card. And you'll see here that on the card, the Black Rose will score points as events pop up. Everyone actually competes with the Black Rose, who's an AI that can score points just like you. After that, we get to draw a quest card. This is one way we can score points by meeting these conditions. Phase 2 is where the fun really starts. This is the study phase. Now we get to draw 2 cards from our grimoire, and since this is a deck building game, we actually get to start off by choosing which school of magic we want to start with. We'll get a preset of 6 cards, and then we add in one of our character cards, and this right here will make up our grimoire. After that, we get to draw 4 cards from any school of magic, and then we can mix and match. So like I could get 2 from Agony, 2 from Nightmare, or 1 from Alchemy, 1 from Shaman, and so on. Phase 3 is the preparation phase. Okay, so a brand new event pops up, we draw a brand new quest card, we get to build up our grimoire. Next up is programming. Hold on a second, I know that when some people hear programming, they're like, oh my god, Tim, you didn't tell me there's gonna be programming here. Well, this game does programming very differently from other games. So 1 spell is gonna go in this slot, which means you can use it at any time. And then you have 3 more spell slots on your board. So whatever that you put on slot 1 has to be played before slot 2, which in turn has to be played before slot 3. So you do have to play them in that order, but you can cast these spells whenever you want. Phase 4, the action phase. Okay, now we get to the crazy stuff. You have 4 spells on your board, and then you also have 2 action tokens. Those 2 action tokens are used for physical actions. On your turn, you can flip one of these tokens over and then do a couple of different things. You can move up to your mage's speed and then activate the room that you're in, or vice versa. Now this is also pretty much a worker placement game because you get to do stuff or get stuff from different rooms. Like in the crypt, you get to summon cadavers, or in the treasure room, you also get to get more spells. And then you can also physically fight other mages equal to your strength. Or option 3, if you have an evocation, think of these as like minions that you can use, you can activate them, which allows evocations to move and fight for you. So you flip a token, and then you can explore by moving and activating a room, or you can fight, or you can command an evocation. So you get 2 actions on your turn. You can either do a physical action, or cast a spell, or any combination of those to equal 2. So let's talk about the heart of this game, which is to cast a spell. So to cast a spell, you're either going to reveal a card, or you get to arm 1 face down, and that's either going to be a trap or a guardian card in order to protect yourself from harm. There's so many different kinds of spells in this game, and each one also has a light side and a dark side. So when you're programming, you actually get to pick whether you want to play the light side or the dark side. Let me warn you real quick. Spells are pretty badass in this game. They have a range, and then there's also a type, which is important because alchemy spells will enhance other spells depending on what you already played, and some spells also have this black circle. That right there is what's called instability. So you're gonna add that to the room that you're in, and then once the room is full of instability, then that room will get rebuilt with yet a stronger ability. Aside from quests giving you points, whoever contributes the most to rebuilding these rooms will also get the most points. The last possible action that you can take is momentum, and this is important because the game gives you options to discard your spell board to move, which is particularly useful because when your mage is defeated, you get locked up in a cell and you have to move on your turn. So momentum is helpful in kind of like not locking up your spell board and keeping you in the fight. Phase 5, the evocation phase. I love this phase because I feel like it gives life to your army. So after every mage takes their turn and everyone passes, then we move on to this phase where your evocations will all activate. And to me, that's super cool because then all the resources that you spend and all the actions that you're using, they are all towards your own mage. That way, all the resources that you spend investing into these evocations will also pay off as well. So that payoff right there, super satisfying. Phase 6 is the cleanup phase. It's the last phase of the round where your board is wiped, but you can choose to keep whether your traps are active still and your protection spells are still there. And then once people or the Black Rose, again, that's the AI that you're competing against, whether you or the AI reaches a certain number of points, then this cube right here is going to trigger a brand new set of events and quests that switch in until the last cube is unlocked, and that right there is when endgame gets triggered. So you get points from quests, you get points from rebuilding rooms, and then you also get points for defeating other mages, probably like the most amount of points from defeating other mages. And the cool part about how inclusive this scoring system works is that whoever contributed any kind of damage to like inflicting on another mage, or if you contributed to rebuilding a room, you will score points. And of course, the person that does the most for like the most damage to a mage or the most rebuilding is gonna get the most. And whoever like does the least, then of course they're gonna get the least as well. I love that system because no matter how much you do, you still get something back for it. And then when mages are defeated, you take their trophy, and whoever has won the most trophies and solved the most quests will also get points in the end as well. Again, also giving points to everyone in between. And that right there is how the game works. So what doesn't work in Black Rose Wars Rebirth? Two things for me. First one is with characters. So your characters here, let's be real, they're not really asymmetric because everyone has practically the same amount of stats. And the only way characters are different from each other is that they add 3 cards to your deck. And you only add in 1 card at a time. You're gonna add in the other 2 cards as the game goes on. So as you unlock like the next cube and the next cube, that's when you get to add in another character card to your deck. So really, there isn't much asymmetry going on here. It's not too bad of a thing, but it could feel better. Like I wish each character had a unique ability, like Grimigna, maybe she'll allow you to draw 3 jinxes or something. Or the Baron, right? Maybe he can upgrade your nightmares once per round. All I wish they did is added in 1 innate ability for each character card, and then that would have clearly made them asymmetric, and it would give you more incentive to actually like fight over which characters to play as. Because right now, it's like, it doesn't really matter which character you're playing as, because you can just choose one, everyone has the same amount of power or strength that they can use to fight with, everyone has the same amount of speed, the same hand limit pretty much, same quests, so there's not much differentiating the characters there. On top of that, I love the minis for the avatars because they come in like this really cool green acrylic mixed in with like the plastic molds. And I think that looks so freaking awesome. Yet that's on a character that is optional for the game. Like you don't have to add in an avatar. That's like the AI. So on top of the Black Rose, you can add in this avatar character if like you're playing a 2-player game, which we did. And it's cool, like it's fun, but I felt like that treatment, that beautiful production should have been added on to characters that we're actually using that are mandatory for the game. So that's my first issue. The second issue that I have actually is with this right here. The rulebook. The rulebook has so much missing information and so many things left out. And again, like what I say all the time in practically so many of my videos, and that is this right here is the barrier to fun. If this is polished, it will bring us towards the fun much faster. So I really wish that they polished up the rulebook because there are so many things here that I can talk about. Naturally, in a game that has like so many spells and so many ways for us to have edge cases, we're gonna have a ton of questions. So an FAQ section would be beautiful here. The fastest way for us to keep enjoying the game is to not pull the rulebook and figure out what we do in this situation, but to rather continue playing the game. And we can't do that if we have to keep looking up different rules. And it makes it even more difficult when there's no index to look up those specific rules. Like for instance, the real question that we had were about Umbras. These are nightmares that will like leech onto the mage. It's really funny actually, I love this mechanic. But then the question is, well, if you move, do those nightmares move along with them? And how do you get rid of these Umbras? Can a player assign more than 3 Umbras if they have different targets? So you see, there are a lot of edge cases that could easily be answered if there was an index here, and we can also like flip through it right away, see exactly what page it's on, or if there's a section where it details out all those individual cards, just like, honestly, just like Dwellings does, because Dwellings has an appendix and also has a listing for all the different factions. And then you realize later on that in order for you to find a specific rule, they're probably going to be underneath the deck of cards that you have to actually put over to cover up the rules. Bottom line, if Black Rose Wars Rebirth polished up their rulebook, oh my god. Let me tell you now, this game would soar beyond where it's already at, because everything else, which we're gonna talk about right now, makes it completely shine. With that said, I still stand by saying that this game is still a very, very top tier game because the gameplay is so freaking fun. This game does so many things right because I've never seen events so tightly interwoven and meaningful in a game, because as you get stronger, it raises the stakes and ramps up the play interaction. Like, let's say we're building up armies on opposite ends, and then the awakening happens, and all of a sudden, it's gonna make everyone wanna go for the Black Rose room, because here you get access to extremely powerful one-time use spells. I'm talking about like apocalyptic, world-ending, giant monster summoning spells. They are crazy and ridiculously fun to use and to like rush towards to get to first. So events will bring people together to kill each other in a good way, but it makes it so fun and it makes it so interactive. And what I really love about them is that as the game goes on, the events escalate and they bring in very meaningful situations. Like, it makes you really think about the decisions that you're gonna make. Like, do I invest in those points now to make myself stronger right now so I can like finish off this fight? Or do I invest them for endgame points later? They put you in those very difficult situations, and I love that. And I love how they scale along with the play interaction and along with the pacing of the game. Now that leads me to my next question. Well, if I had to pick one thing, what is the best thing about this game, Tim? Well, I feel like that one thing is experimentation. Let me explain. Honestly, to me, some of the best board games give us this. They give us a room to be creative and to try out different, in this case, spells again and again. Because we have so many limitless combinations to play with and so many different schools of magic, so many different ways to mix them up and use them at different times and build off different combos, that right there is what makes Black Rose Wars Rebirth such a top tier fun game. I can summon an undead army, I can blitz through and go for the kill, I can watch people fight over there while I figure out my quests over here, and I can do a little bit of all that. Somehow, this game manages to combine deck building and pre-programming and worker placement in such a fun way. I love asking these questions like, oh, should I be defensive this turn and lay traps and guardian spells? Or maybe I should just nuke the mage next to me. Narrowing down your spell options, yet choosing when you want to activate them, that right there is genius, okay? I love when games make you adapt to a situation versus you being able to predict everything that's gonna happen like 3, 4, 5 turns ahead. And at the end of the day, what I really appreciated was that it wasn't just us being mages casting spells mindlessly in arena, no matter how much I would have not minded that. But there's so much more to that. We have to think about the terrain. We have to think about our placement, our line of sight. We have to think about all the other spells that players have armed and ready to go. We also have to think about the evocations on the board and the Black Rose and the avatars that we add in. So there's so many different factors that make these situations so unique, and that's why I love playing this game and why I can't like wait to play it again and again, because every single time it really is a unique experience and so many different ways for you to be creative. Like, all of that syncing together seamlessly, that blows my mind. Bottom line, I am giving Black Rose Wars a 4.6 out of 5, and here's why. This is an extremely fun mage-themed game that is super replayable. All of this was from the base game only, and the expansions add in so much more content like new schools of magic. There's gonna be a new druid mage adding in like a crocodile summon apparently. I played this game 3 times now, one at 1, one at 2, and one at 3, and I can't wait to play it across all player accounts. Solo also is really fun because the maintenance is really low. You pretty much just draw 1 card for the avatar and then it reacts and does a whole sequence, but it's extremely easy to play through, and I love solo here. Normally, I only play solo for campaign games and dwellings, but this is like the one game that's also making an exception because the way you manage the AI is very seamless. And what I really love about solo the most, and if you like Dwellings of Eldervale solo, then you're gonna love this game solo too because it's the exact same. Just like how in Dwellings where you get to play with different factions, here, yes, you do get to play with different characters, but you also get to deck build a lot more than you do in Dwellings. And yeah, Wolfpack, this is a top contender. I feel like this might break into some lists of mine very soon. I was just about to make some other lists, but now I'm like, ooh, Black Rose Wars is gonna do some damage on those. So we'll see what happens from there. But anyways, if you all made it here to the very, very end, I hope you all enjoyed today's review and my thoughts about Black Rose Wars Rebirth. Let me know what you all think about this game down below. Is it something that you're planning to pick up? Is it something that's been on your radar? Is it a game that you played before? And if you made it here to the very end, go ahead and drop a rose down below for such a wonderfully produced and just amazing game overall. Thank you all so much for watching as always, and I will see you all in the next one.